Hey Duncan,
Hi,
welcome to
Phil.
the Digital Leadership Podcast. I'm happy to have you here. With change of scenery for me. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much for asking me to speak, to attend. Very exciting. Never done a podcast before, so all new, all very exciting. Yeah,
So you're a product leader transition to product recruiter. It's
I
gonna be an interesting discussion.
yes. Everyone's journey into, through, and potentially out of products is slightly unique, right? I fell into product by accident way back in the early noughties. I was in that scientific publishing, and that information went online. And before I knew it, my job title changed to product manager. Didn't really know what that was. Um, Discovered very soon that was very, very similar to me. Building an information-based website is not that different from building a book. It's the same workflow. You get the content in, you get the images in. Instead of giving it to a printer, we're giving it to programmers and UX designers and working through it that way. So it actually, on the face of it initially, was quite an easy transition. As my career progressed, I moved through different industries in product,
Hmm.
mainly information based, but touched on it became more sassy as SaaS, software as a service, not sassy. So as my career progressed, I've been accused of being sassy, and as and that was really exciting. It was really great to learn new skills, to build workflow tools. Not just provide pumping information out at people, but actually engaging with them and making their work lives better in a really meaningful way, solving real world problems. And then, as we all know, there was I think I heard it put politely as a retreat of capital from technology over the past couple of years,
Yeah.
and my role at the time was made redundant, which was hard. So it's never an easy transition to make. But
Yeah,
what I
especially
have,
that right now a lot of people are
I
going
know,
through that, especially in the last year. So yeah,
it's still happening, right?
yeah, it's still
It's
happening.
come off a bit, but it's still happening. I'll touch on that again in a minute. And the challenge for me then was, what do I do? Right, I've been doing product for 18 years, and what I'd loved the most, particularly latterly, was in scaling companies, going in a small team and building that team up, hiring those people, developing their careers, coaching and mentoring them, and doing all that. The human factors aspect of
Hmm.
work, not just the technology side. And so I thought I'd try recruitment, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that I
And
have
why?
found a
I
passion
mean,
for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And how did you go into it? Like when was the declic to say, okay, like
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
go
was
to
I was
recruitment?
told. Kind of again. I decided I like people recruitment. I like
Yeah.
product. Let's do product people. I was talking to a recruiter about a product opportunity, and decided that I found them more interesting and their business more interesting and what they did
Okay.
of recruitment than the product opportunity in front of me. So I pitched myself in and said, "Have you ever thought of hiring for product recruitment?" And they said, "Yes, and this is really handy, and come in for an interview." And that company was Blair West, and I've been there for 6 months.
That's
Uh,
cool. That's cool. And
yeah,
so I guess my first question about recruitment, because we have so much to talk about that, and we have also to talk about selling yourself because it's really
right,
important.
yeah.
Um, what do you think? Like it's based on what is happening right now. You were saying some stuff to me before we started the call. Like, what do you see it's happening in the market?
There's there's still a compared to 2 years ago, right, when it was debt fueled growth and cheap money was pouring into companies. They didn't care if you're making a profit now, just get bigger because then we'll sell you for a ridiculous valuation at some point. That's gone. We know that's gone. Possibly for the good. Oh, sorry, my spotlights are falling over the place. I'm gesticulating too much. Um, Possibly for the good. The drive now is for still growth, but still businesses need to be faster, healthier, making more money as they go, bootstrapping as they go, making profit. So over the past 6 months or so, at the beginning of the summer, the market was still quite depressed in terms of product and UX hire. There'd been
Hmm.
a lot of people, a lot of talent on the market, a lot of good talent on the market because of aforesaid retreat of capital. Um, And it was tough. Over the past 2 months or so, and I don't want to jinx anything, I think people are still being cautious about how they invest. Investors are still cautious about where they target their funds. But it seems to be turning a corner. It seems to be picking up since the summer ended. There's still caution in that, and
Hmm.
companies still need to be growing, but they need to be able to make a profit, and that means that there is still tighter margins around recruitment. So recruitment agencies may be finding it harder. Newer recruitment agencies might be finding it harder to crack into existing companies that already have a previous relationship, and salaries are being more, how would I put it, forensically examined. That growth in tech salaries that we saw about 2 years ago, that's not happening anymore. If anything, they may be coming down a bit, but they've certainly stabilized.
And
Um,
on the candidate side, did you see like, because obviously there was a lot of layoff in the last year, did you see like a difference also in terms of profile, in terms of quantity also that you get?
Very good, very good question. When I started, there were lots of mid-level UX designers, product managers out there. Now there are a lot more senior product people out there, heads of VPs, CPOs that
Hmm.
have their startup's gone. The startup's gone. It's ended, and previously been able to walk into a consultancy role or an interim or a fractional role would have been easier. It's now much harder because it's much more competitive because there's more people with that profile out there. That's
And I,
that's that's what I'm seeing.
and I saw like, maybe you can confirm this, but I saw also that people are also applying to jobs that were, how could I put that? Like, not it's not underneath because it sounds bad, but I mean, at the
Low
lower
level.
level, is that
Yes,
something that you see also?
very true. Yes. So VPs are going for group product manager jobs. CPOs are going for heads of. It's come down a notch. Fractional roles are, I think, there was a spike. I've not seen it recently, but there seemed to be a spike of kind of fractional interim type roles about three months ago.
Hmm.
And again, that's companies, they're being cautious with the money. They want that C-suite expertise and that experience in there, but they may not want to pay the full whack for it.
Yeah.
So a good CPO can be expensive, right? So let's get one in for 3 days a week, 2 days a week, or 6 months fixed term contract to get us up and running, and then go. Um,
And,
so it's still that cautiousness with money.
okay. And do you still have trouble to find the right resources? Because if there is a market where there is more people that are available, normally that means that it's easier for you to find the right resources, or is it still a problem?
Well, had we been back in the day where everyone could work from home or in distributed teams and hybridity was maybe a couple of days a month in the office, now at the same time as all that's going on, there's a drive to be much more present in the office with a lot of companies, and
Okay.
that, depending on where you are, if you're in London, in the UK, in the southeast, or in big urban centres, big where there's a tech hub and there's a population of talented, tech-enabled, tech-skilled people, you're doing well. If you're in a smaller city and you're a mid senior level product manager, UX designer, used to working remotely or very hybrid, that's going to be more of a challenge. If now the ask is you need to be in the office 2, 3, sometimes 4, or even 5 days a week, it's at the same time all of that's almost like a perfect storm, right?
No, so there is a change also in the way like people want to work with
That
product people. So there is
company,
also, there is a shift on the market, like coming back to a traditional pre-pandemic way
more
of working.
towards more towards a lot of companies are asking for more for hybrid on in the office, set number of days per week. That's fine if it's doable with a commute. At the same time, talent market doesn't necessarily want to do that, right?
Okay.
So there's a pull and a push going on here, and it'll probably settle down to something, as most things do, a happy compromise where nobody's really happy. But it will settle down eventually, I think. But at the moment, you're seeing that tug of war. I'm working with a client right now who is wanting full time on site, and that's taking a talent pool from that to that.
And so let's go to the nitty gritty. You have been on both sides, so you have been a product leader. You know what is product. You know what it is to apply. You know what it is to go through that journey. But
Yeah,
now you are also the other perspective that you're also a product recruiter.
yeah.
What do you think people don't understand?
Which people?
Okay, let's separate. That's a good question. That's a good question. Let's separate it. So if we take experienced people, because we say there is a lot, so let's start by experienced people. What do you think they, even with their experience, they still don't understand, about that recruiting side or going through that process?
I'll tell you what I didn't understand. Right, I can't speak for anyone else, but I can talk about it from my perspective. As you rightly said, I've been a candidate and I've worked with recruiters as a hiring manager, and they've been great. You know who you are if you're watching, and it's the the biggest challenge for me. I'm going to maybe pivot the question a little bit if you don't mind. The biggest
Yeah, go
challenge
for it.
challenge for me was when you're in product, everything you do has value immediately. You know, you've written or you've done that report, you've prioritized that deck, you've groomed that backlog, you've brought those stakeholders on for the journey, you've written that business case, you've done the competitive analysis. All of that immediately has a result. It takes you forward on your product journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same in recruitment. You know, you talk to. It takes the same amount of effort to talk to each client, and out of 20, maybe one will bring a job on. When that job happens, you've got to talk to a lot of candidates, and that's what I love. You know, but only 5 will go to shortlist, and 1 will get the job. So it's not a lean process in any stretch of the imagination. And for me, making that switch from everything I do has value to essentially there's a numbers game element to this. Is quite challenging. Is quite challenging, and I think if you're on the client side of it, you don't see that. You might not understand that. You might. I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
So my journey was that this is that there's a lot to do here to get that one job on that you're working, and then there's a lot of work to do with that job to get that one hire, to get that fee, and to get that commission.
And I think that's really interesting what you're saying, because it goes for the experienced people and also for the people that have maybe no experience and try to go into the market.
Yeah.
I'm seeing right now, on LinkedIn, when you see the post about a job, like you can see 200 applicants, 1,000 applicants. It can be quite crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I guess can
There's a
you run me through? Okay, what do you do when you receive like 200 application? How do you go to shortlist that?
So there are AI tools available to do that now. I don't use them, and Blair West don't use them. We
Okay.
maybe one day will, but I always think that a human eye is better. Certainly, if it's a keyword search on a CV, you could gain your CV right to get through. I always think it's much better to try and read and understand what they are. Your point about 200 applications, there's a funny thing that LinkedIn does, that if you've even looked at a job application, it counts as an application, even if there hasn't been a live application. So some of those, I'm going to get sued of LinkedIn for saying that now. There are some questionable stats on LinkedIn, so be careful, anyone out there who, when you see a
So,
job,
are you saying that the stat that we see on LinkedIn are maybe not the truth?
I'm not saying that, no.
Okay.
What I'm advising people to do is when they see 300 or 400, 500 applications on a job role, they may not be real applications. There may still be a lot, yeah, but there may not be that many actual real world applications. So you get that. Oh, sorry, what was the question? I've thrown myself off.
So yeah, so just the process, because
Right,
obviously
yeah,
people still wonder, like it's like, okay, if that person received 200 application, let's imagine that it's 200.
yeah,
How do I get selected? How do I get
yeah,
shortlisted?
yeah. For product and UX, and I'm seeing it more and more, but not always. And I'm still getting my head around the data stuff, so don't probe me too much on that. But you want to see impact, right? You want to see how you change the business when you were there. So make sure that when you write your CV, do not write it as a job description in the past tense. Do not say things like, in my view, anyway,
Yeah.
uh, I I groomed a backlog, I prioritized backlist, I brought stakeholders on for the ride. That's your job, right? That's you being a product manager. If you do say that, then say what that backlog did, say what that prioritized list, say what that strategy did, say what that stakeholder conversation led to, and how that changed the business in terms of, new customers, reduced costs, faster time to market, all that good stuff.
So your
How
first advice is don't just repeat the job
don't
offer.
don't repeat the job description. Say what you did with it and how you changed the business while you were there. What
Okay.
impact?
So what is a good structure of sentence if we give advice to people?
Whoa.
Let's say for example you were talking about the customer. You were like doing customer interviews maybe. What could
Yeah.
be like?
Uh, carried out 50 customer interviews, which led to a change in direction for the product, which in turn led to an uptick in 10% revenue.
Okay, so really like, okay, what result did it bring? What is the outcome for the business? So that way you understand the full context.
Yeah, I would say so. Um,
Okay.
Years of experience aren't as important as the impact you had when you were there. I think it's also really important to not LinkedIn are going to hate me. Don't hit the easy apply button. Just don't.
Don't
Um,
hit the easy apply
don't
button.
don't because it's too easy. You just hit it. You get the CV goes in. Bang, done.
And what is missing? Because what is the other side? What do you receive when people do that?
That's why you end up with hundreds of or far too many applications, most of which are not actually well suited because the candidate has seen something like the job title, maybe a little bit of spiel, hit bang, but not. And maybe if one's experience does not actually match that,
Mm-hmm.
you've not given yourself the opportunity to sell yourself
Okay.
how you match that, right? Especially if your CV is not full of
And so
information.
what is the avenue you should take? You should
My
contact you.
well, yes,
Okay.
find a good recruiter. Uh,
Okay.
but if you don't want to go through a recruiter, because everyone does their own search, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
What are your passions? What companies do you want to work for? What's going to really make you interested and succeed in a product role? And passion's part of that, right? Do I really believe in the problem that this is solving? Do I believe in the solution that will solve it? So do, find those companies that are ticking those boxes, and then find somebody within those companies. This is not new advice, but network within those companies' employees on LinkedIn, reach out, build those relationships, and do it that way. Get yourself known in that company. 60% of job offers are, I think my statistics are correct. If they're not, I apologize, but I think something like 60% of job offers are made within a hiring manager's network already.
So it's someone that they know, or someone
Or it's
that
someone that
was
they know.
recommended, or someone that contacted them directly and entered chat with them, or something like that.
Direct relationship or a referral, or I've worked with this person in the past, do that. That is, or that this person approached me, introduced themselves, helped me out with the project. I think we should talk to them. That sadly, it's that who you know helps, right?
Still the
It
human
helps
approach.
stand out. We're humans. We're smart monkeys. We like that social connection, and that really helps. It's not rocket science, but take time to sell yourself and
Yeah.
network within that, and make sure that you're making the
And,
most
and
important.
before we talk about the selling yourself, because it's part of what we were talking about, but it's really
Yes.
important. I just want to go into the mindset of it. How much time do you spend per CV? If you say like if you receive a lot, like just to give an idea to people, why your CV should be like really compelling and all that.
How much time I?
Spend per CV, if you receive.
Oh, that's really really difficult because there can be many things that make a CV stand out.
What are the things? That's good. That's good. What are the things?
Depends on the job, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's if it's a data analyst job or a very technical role, it's do you know the tech stack? or if it's a product or UX role, maybe it's out of industry domain. Have you proven the ability to pick up a new industry sector, a new industry domain, and dive into it? Have you worked in that domain before? How long have you worked for? Many things. But it's fair to say that the initial read of a CV will be fairly quick. It will be a skim looking for key things that a client has briefed me on as being most important. No, there are very few unicorns out there.
Very few. Sorry.
Unicorns that
Okay.
exactly match, right? There are clients that are looking for unicorns, and there's more of that. And we're talking about there's more of that as well, de-risking their investment in a new role. They think, but most technology jobs are transferable if you've got the right mindset and the right questioning, inquisitive and interrogative nature. I think you can get yourself up to speed very, very quickly in everything. If you're out of domain, prove that you can pick up a new subject. So the first read of a CV, I'm jumping about, first read of a CV is quite quick. When I was a hiring manager at a really good recruiter at where I was at Lantec, really good recruitment firm, and they really took time to understand what we were doing as a business. And so when you got the CVs, they were worth taking time to read thoroughly.
Okay, because yeah, that was the last part of the process. Is that once you have selected those people, you send the CV. So you're basically selling the people to the business.
Yes, you are.
So for you, having a compelling CV, having something that really matches the need from the client is something that is needed, because you don't want to be like reviewing the CV or trying to.
No. It's a two-way thing in recruitment. You're selling the opportunity in the company to the candidate as well, and you're then selling the candidate back. And that's not so hard as a transition from product into recruitment, because you do that anyway. In a sense, you sell when you're in client and customer meetings. You're selling the vision for the product. You're selling its capabilities. Selling someone else into a client, it's a similar kind of process. It's analogous, right? You've got to know your candidates. You know their skill sets. You know their career goals, and it's matchmaking with specific companies. The hardest bit is, as many tech people are, slightly introverted. I am, despite being on a podcast. I'm generally quite introverted and need to go away and lie down in a dark room after social events. But the bit of getting out there as a 360 recruiter and having to build your own brand and sell your expertise as an individual is a different proposition. So that bit's been harder.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the selling yourself topic and your brand as a product person, as a leader.
Yeah.
How hard it is for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You if you've not done it, if you've never done it before, it feels enormous at first. And while I'm not a prolific poster on LinkedIn, but I've started to put a few pieces out there, just food for thought. Really, I'm not the expert in anything, but just food for thought based on my experience. This works, this doesn't. And hitting publish, it's quite nerve wracking. It's like you're putting it out there. What are people going to think? It's very uncomfortable to be out there and sell yourself as a market expert, a recruitment expert, a product UX or data expert, whatever that is, for some people. And there's a reason that recruitment is often classed as, it is sales. There's a big sales aspect to it.
Yeah.
What I liked about Blair West was that it was kind of soft selling and more consultative, and that helped. That helped sort of make that bit a little bit easier. But it's still more business development than it is a client visit or a prospect visit when you've got a product to demo, and it's all a bit more. This is what it does. Tell me your problems, which is that's kind of how product works. This is what we do. Tell me your problems. Oh yeah, we'll put that in the backlog and fix it and
Yeah.
make your problems go away. There's some of that, but it's you. It's me. I mean,
And were you doing it before, the sales activity, or selling yourself? Were you doing it also as a product leader?
not directly. No, no.
Okay.
I mean,
Who
in the
who was
sense,
doing it for you?
well, with customer success and account managers and account execs, right?
Okay.
It was a SaaS business. That's and SDRs. They were there. They were doing that, and good on them. They were doing a good job. Um, to have to do all the sales, all the marketing, all the BD, and then actually the delivery of the recruitment process is hard. And I'm human. People tend to gravitate to the stuff that they like or is easy. So forcing that BD bit and learning it has been a challenge. But it's always good to grow. And
Yeah.
doing something hard is usually a good sign that it's worthwhile doing.
And how important for you it is, like, to sell yourself, if you think about it that way, and we.
Yeah, I think in recruitment, yeah, you definitely have to be able to talk about your story, what you can bring to the process. Um, I'm not, I'm never going to succeed as a used car salesman. I'm not that kind of salesperson. It's about right. In my experience, I've seen this, I've seen that. I would advise, and just be very, listen first, understand what the business and the client and the hiring manager want, probe, question, challenge, push back a little in a very productive way. Well, why? There's lots of whys, and yeah, do it a bit more softly, and that I'm more comfortable with. But it's still, you know, I am the product in lots of ways, and that's a weird thing to get my head around.
and
It
and
was getting better.
and for product leaders, like,
Yeah,
do you think it's needed today to learn how to sell
I
yourself, to have this presence online, and especially, and I guess my second question is that, especially if you're in higher roles or more responsibility.
yeah. So I think the answer gets a little bit more nuanced. For me, anyway, I think if you hire good people in your team, they can sell themselves. They can do a great job. The job they do, the product they build, that will sell itself through the excellent sales team in your company if you've got one. That will then cast a reflected glorious light onto you as a leader for hiring them, coaching them, mentoring them, and growing them as professionals. And that for me is how I would lead and how I have. That's how I'm more comfortable. I'd like make them really good at their jobs, and their abilities will then sell your ability as a leader.
And do you think people pay enough attention, like in the recruitment part, like in the culture we're building, or the recruiting move they can?
I think it depends in what sector you're hiring in, right?
Hmm.
If you don't necessarily want a sales director who is a shrinking violet and doesn't want to go out and talk in public. I mean, you want that. You want a head of product, a VP, or a design lead to get out there and be able to showcase the designs
Yeah.
on occasion. But for me, it's crucially important from leadership perspective to cast that credit for what they're showing to the people that built it. It's one thing as a recruiter that's a bit of a red flag when people talk about what they've done and it's we did this, we did that, and while being inclusive and giving credit to the wider team is good, when you're in an interview situation, it looks like there's a question there. Like, well, did you do it or did someone else do it? If you're talking about something you've built at a conference or a meetup or whatever, and you don't say we, then the opposite effect is like, well, surely you've got a team of 20 product managers under you. Surely they did something. It wasn't all you. You're the CPO. You shouldn't be doing that. So, being inclusive where it's true and being selfish when it's true is important. I think honesty is the important bit. Don't claim credit if it's not yours, and don't hide under under a misplaced sense
Hmm.
of collective responsibility. If you've done something good, tell people that you did it. If it was the team, say it was the team. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
All right.
And so yeah, because you're saying like people use too much of a we, and so that's kind of a problem
Can
because it's
do.
like
Can do. If
yeah,
if if they've done it, don't say we. If we've done it, don't say I.
but it's weird because like people will feel like it looks like arrogance to say I did it when obviously you had. It's really rare to do something
That's
alone, right? It's almost impossible to do something alone in any company.
I
So
know.
you had still collaboration from other people, but how do you say hi
You
when
could say I called together a working group to make this happen, and then this happened. Right.
I made
Um,
it happen basically?
there is stats, I can't remember them right now, but there's well reported statistics that women particularly are more likely to use we than men. Men will say I, women will say we. There's a
Okay.
real gender imbalance on you say arrogance, I say male female disparity. Um, you can read into that what you will.
No,
Um,
no.
I think
We keep everything.
women are much more, or writ large. I'm not going to generalize here, but there are statistics to show that women are much more inclusive about how they report their achievements and say we or the team
More as
more
a community
more
than
than men.
a person
Yeah,
alone that I conquer that alone, and
yeah,
obviously depending on the role.
yeah.
And so I'm gonna ask you a question from Andrea because I think it's a good. She asked me for you, how can a product person stand out from a
Stand
sales recruitment
stand out from other product people.
in general? Yeah, is it by having a presence online? Is it by
I I think first and foremost, be good at what you do. Care about what you do. Spend the time. You know, I've had a long career and I've made mistakes. There might be people watching going, "What's he on about?" I used to work with him. He wasn't like that. There is.
age well, age well? That's
I think care about what you do and be dedicated to mindful of your team. Look after your team, whether it's a direct reports or your engineering team. Build a good product that makes a difference. This is maybe a kind of banal anodyne answer, but make a difference, and then succeed with that, and then you've got a story to tell. Um, be inquisitive, be challenging, be polite. Be humble. This is it's not rocket science, but if you do a good job and then have a good story to tell, it comes back to the selling piece, right?
Mhm.
If you've got a good story to tell about what you've done, why you did it, how you did it, then that really helps you stand out.
And for new people that want to, because I talk to a lot of new, aspiring product manager, aspiring, people that just came out of university also, like they want a
Sure.
job, right?
Uh,
And they want to do that. They want to have like, job that matters, or they want to do something that matters. How can they do it? What we should look at?
how to
How to do everything that you said. Being able to have a good story after, being able to work on a good product, being able to do something, have an impact, do something that matter. How can we do that? How can we create a path for them?
Yeah. I mean, things are different now. And people do degrees and courses in product management, right? It's a destination career, whereas when I started, it was something people did by accident. I don't want to repeat myself, but I think knowing what interests you, do something. If you want to get into product management, why? Ask yourself why, right? What is it about it as a career path that interests you? What subject areas interest you? Um, focus on your passions and dig into them first. Your passions will change over time, right? I was working for a medical publisher when it went online. I got a biology degree, so it kind of felt like I was almost using my degree in some way. And medical publishing, right? You're helping doctors make the right decisions. This is all good. You're saving lives at the end of the road somewhere. But then you move from that was my initial passion, that drive. But then you move into other areas and you realize that it's actually getting information into businesses so they make the right decisions, and then so helping businesses be more efficient became a passion, and that led into the SaaS side of things. But then my passion changed again there to helping people be better at the jobs that help businesses make the right decisions. So your passions evolve, but focus on what interests you first,
Hmm.
and apply for product roles in those types of businesses. That will ultimately help you succeed in the career, and it'll help you stand out from the market, because that passion, that positivity you feel towards what you're doing will shine through.
And you think this is how you became a leader?
There's also ambition in there, right? and,
Okay, that's interesting. That's
and
interesting. Do you think so? Do you
yeah,
think do you think it's just being curious that it's because I feel that ambition right now, I don't see people talking about ambition, right?
no,
It's almost seen as a bad word. It's almost seen like like, oh, why do you want to do that, right?
yeah. There's a lot of it. A lot of my career trajectory was like, oh, that opportunity looks good. That's different from what I'm doing right now. I've been doing what I do for a couple of years now. I want to change. I've done that, been there, done that. I want to do something else. Um, and I could have just gone sideways into another industry, but we are all conditioned as economic entities to earn more and progress. It's part of it's just baked into human nature, or certainly Western human nature, I would say. Um, I've had a couple of conversations recently with people who've just reached out to say I'm at a junction in my career. I'm group product manager, got a small team, or head of product, and I'm looking to go VP or CPO. And my first question would be like, well, why? If you're happy doing what you're doing and you're not bored of it, you love your team, your product's success, there's still loads on the roadmap, still loads you want to do with it, do that. Because the higher up you get, the less producting you'll be doing, the less UX designing you'll be doing. You'll be politicking, and
Yeah, but at the same time, the market is not a bit broken.
but if that's what you want, then go for it. My
Yeah,
trajectory was sorry. What was the question? What did
because
you say?
sometimes people choose to go to the next manager level, for example, because that's the only
Yeah.
way to evolve, right? That's the only way to get a better salary.
Yes. So that's the question, right? Do you want to get promoted for more money, or do you want to get promoted for a new challenge?
Yeah.
Um, as I said, salaries are stabilizing, if not coming down in some sectors right now. And I've had a number of conversations recently with candidates who say it's actually, there's a minimum floor, but say
Hmm.
they were on maybe a CPO level salary, hundreds, quite a few tens of thousands, in order to, because they don't need that money, right? Their cost base hasn't increased with their salary, but what they're looking for is something different, more rewarding, maybe tech for good. Maybe they've been in financial fintech before, and they don't want to do that anymore. They want to, solve the climate crisis. Um, Salaries might come down, and then it becomes more about the problem you're solving, the challenge, and that side of things rather than just the money. If you want to chase the money, that's all good. That's all good. It's the jobs that I've taken for the money, and I have, are the ones where I have found least personal satisfaction. So be mindful of chasing the money. It's If you want to chase money, go for it. Good luck. But money doesn't make you happy, right? Well, a certain level of it does, but
Until a certain level.
yeah, but
After it doesn't change anything.
no. If you don't love the product you're building and love the problem you're solving and love the customers you're serving, yeah, um,
Yeah, I feel also
you're
there
no
is a big
longer
difference from when we started. You said yourself when we started, we were like just jumping into it, by accident. It was
yeah,
like, okay, and so it was like first job that was coming in. It was not really a choice, right?
yeah.
So we didn't have this luxury of being able to say, "Oh, I want to work on a product that,
Yeah,
that makes an impact," because we didn't even know what we were doing. To
no.
be honest, on a certain
Yeah.
path. Do you feel like people know better now and have a better?
I I think there's definitely more focus in a younger candidate base about what they want out of a career and which direction they want to go in. Um, it's not quite people want to be. I've always wanted to be doctors or dentists or lawyers or accountants, right? And there's been a very streamlined path into that. There's now more of a streamlined path into product, I think, than there
Mhm.
used to be. Um, Computer science is obviously the way in, or combination degrees, business studies, computer science. Lots of electrical engineers, for some reason, end up as product managers. It's a very common qualification on a CV is
Really
yeah, electrical engineering into product.
interesting.
Um, there are still new product managers who've done English and history and French and Russian and, in my case, evolutionary biology and animal behavior. Um, there's still that range, but there is more of a path now. Um, so I think that focus means that people are much more driven and they know they want to be a product manager.
Hmm.
I admire those people immensely because when I was at that stage in my career, I didn't know I wanted to be. Um, do I still know what I want to be? I, don't- I life's a journey.
I
But
think I think the thing is that when we started, I think that tech was. I mean, when I finished university, I'm not even sure if Google existed.
uh, you're not older than me, Phil. You're absolutely not.
No, but like it was in 2000. No, but I mean, like I finished university. Like I mean, the first computer science. It was in 2002, 2003, and I think
Yeah,
Google just started. Right. It was
yeah,
not like what it is today.
yeah. No, no,
I was not like raised, if I could say, with all the tools that you have right now.
absolutely,
So the
absolutely.
landscape is totally different, also.
Yes, and tech is everywhere, right? I digital natives, I similar kind of about 10 to 15 years older than you, Phil. But 2004 was my first job in product, and when information went online, um, and now it's everything you do. You've got a computer in your hand. It's your phone, your laptop.
Yeah.
It's all tech. Everything is tech. So that's certainly driven, I think, a part of that drive for product management, at least software product management, to be a destination career because it surrounds us. And product managers where software product managers, lots more of them, and I think that's appealing, right? You get the big FANG companies, right?
Hmm.
Like Amazon, Apple, that they've cut a lot of people. Those salaries are huge. Um, there is a financial attraction to
Yeah.
the role. Yeah.
And so, what do you think product manager that want to be in the field or in the field or running in the field should know about selling themselves? If you have an advice to give to a product manager and you're like, this is what you should know.
Sell what you've done. Your impact and your achievements as a product manager, as a leader, because all product people are leaders at some level. As a leader, how you brought your team along, what have you done, what have you achieved, what change have you made, what problems have you solved, which customers' lives have you made better. Sell that, um, but try not to let that make you arrogant. You're the leader. You led that direction. You made it happen, but you didn't do it all. So remember to be humble. Don't be arrogant, but don't be too shy about it either. Try and if you're naturally a little bit introverted, practice telling people that you did a good job.
Hmm.
Keep practicing and keep practicing, and the more you do it, the easier it'll get.
And so, because you said that product manager is a leadership position, what is, I know you touched a little bit on that, but what is leadership for you?
This is 3 a.m. in the morning conversation. I had whiskey for that one, Phil. Um,
We should have, grab on. It feel like been okay for me.
it's gaining the trust of your team, and having their backs to and them trusting you that you will have their back, but also that you will challenge and coach and mentor and make them more successful at what they do. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that no, that's
Everybody has their own definition, so
yeah,
it's something personal. It's based on experience and everything. So this is
yeah.
why I like to ask this question.
It's
Um,
it's a hard. I'm not going to humble brag it. It's hard. It's hard to do it well. I don't know if I did it well. I enjoyed it. I've you know um, yeah. It's about how your team feel about you. I think.
yeah, and so if I go for the final free question and the bonus one, what do you hope will be your legacy? This is a good question. What do you hope will be your legacy or lasting impact in digital leadership and product management?
Whoa, lasting impact. Depends how long it's lasting, right? But I think if I've helped people in my teams as a leader to be better at what they do so that they can then share that knowledge and skills and pay it forward at some point, and some of that propagates through time, however long that time is. That would be more than I could hope for.
That's good. I like that. Any leaders that you follow or book, movies, TV show that you recommend
um,
for new leaders or for people that want to be in the field? I like the entertainment piece, so this is why I'm always asking,
yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe in entertainment.
Um, yeah, I'm going to super nerdy here, right? I'm going to say Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. She's a really good boss. She's a really good boss. She made
Okay.
some terrible decisions, but she's a really good boss.
She makes terrible. Okay, that's what it is to be a good boss.
Not
Terrible
all her
decision,
decisions
but
were
it's
right, but she's actually really good at managing her team.
that's good. I like that. And for emerging leader in the digital product realm, what's one piece of advice you wish you receive earlier in your career?
It's you don't have to do everything. It's not all on your shoulders. Lean into your team, your colleagues, even if they're not directly on your team. As you said, software's a team sport, right? So um, don't take it all on your shoulders because you won't be able to do it all.
I see a lot of stories behind that.
Yeah,
Was it the biggest story, the biggest lesson that you learned?
yeah, I think so. I think so. Quite. I used to be quite a perfectionist in some ways and try and do everything myself and not. I spoke about earlier about leadership being a trust relationship. That trust got to go both ways. You've got to trust your team and those around you, and learning to do that. Um,
So,
was
what
was
did you believe that you needed to do everything yourself? Why did
uh,
you believe that?
as I said, I'm an introvert. I wasn't able to ask for help. Ask for help.
Okay.
Yeah, ask
And
for
so
help.
what happened? If I can.
Uh, there's many occasions, Phil. I'm not going to go into any of them now. As I said, I'm already being sued by LinkedIn. I don't want to be sued by anyone else.
So for you, like it's really asking for help. Like there is nothing wrong in saying like,
Absolutely nothing wrong. Asking for help is a strength, it's not a weakness. If you have the ability to say, oh, struggling here, need help, or you're really good at that, can you do that? And bring somebody on for the ride, that team, being able to foster that team spirit all together, one journey, one team, is really important. If you can do that as early as possible and be good at that, you'll be fine.
and I just want to come back because I read this on your profile. You were sharing like where the product should sit.
Oh yeah,
Tell me about that because you did a poll on LinkedIn on that,
I did,
and you
and
did then after that an article that I
yeah,
recommend reading.
it's always really interesting, right? Because we all know the history of product management, right? It came out of marketing at Procter and Gamble, and I've seen my first product role was at a publisher, as I said, and that was through the editorial team. So we were working with authors to get their manuscripts in, and then turning them into books, and then we started turning them into websites. So my first job in product was in content acquisition. Um, And then when I left that role, I went to another one, and product reported into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we were still hand in glove with the engineering team who built the stuff, but we were closely aligned with marketing. And at the time, I thought, well, what's this? It's only marketing, right? But no offense to anyone. It worked really, really, really well. And then after that, it became much more common for my product career to be within the tech team, right? And that seems to be a very common thing. And while there are significant advantages to that, shared processes, shared ways of working, the communication gap between technology and product didn't go away, but it got smaller. But then the other side of it is the gap with the commercial side becomes bigger. And the business is about selling, right? It's about making money. So for me, my view, maybe unpopular, my view is that wherever product sits, the and that's right. My article kind of says it can change through the life cycle of a business, but I think marketing a product should actually be really really tightly bound, either under a hybrid CPMO
Mm-hmm.
or for marketing to report controversially directly into product, and that goes back to the roots. The
To
roots of
marketing to report to product.
it. Yep,
Ooh,
I know, controversial.
I like that. We finished by that. No,
Finish on a bang, Phil.
that's good. That's good. So is it in the same way as Brian Chesky was explaining, or is it a different way?
Uh, Actually, what he's saying, everyone's going, "Whoa, the death of product." It's like, no, that's kind of what product started on as the first place. It's nothing new. He's just like, "Oh yeah, Brian, you've read history too." Um, it's taking product away from tech, and that can be good. It isn't always, and putting it back into where it came from, which is what do customers want? Let's solve what customer problems do we want to solve? Are we connecting customers? Are we speaking the right language? Is our value proposition targeted on what our customers need? And that to me is what product should be. Yes, you've got to then go and work with technology to the tech teams and engineering teams to build it. But I don't think Brian's saying anything new
That's good.
at all.
So before we finish, what will be your question for our my next guest?
Your next guest.
I'm not sure yet who it's going to be because I'm trying to set up dates.
Are you asking me to do your job for you?
Huh?
You're asking me to do your job for you. What would my question be for them? Well, I don't know who it is.
Around the topic of leadership and everything.
What's the biggest mistake in leadership you've ever made?
Nice. I like that.
I ask that in interviews. I ask product candidates what the worst decision is they've ever made in terms of their product career. So
Oh, you asked that?
it's quite a horrible question, and I'm not going to answer.
It's a horrible question. Yeah. I receive it from one or two times, and you think a lot. You're like, okay, which one I should say?
It's a good way of discovering how genuine and authentic a candidate's going to be, because you can read are they telling you the truth when they answer it or not.
One last advice for people that have no experience looking for work in product.
Be focused, be targeted. Don't apply to too much at once, because you'll get ghosted or you'll get rejected, and that will stamp on your self-esteem. Only go after the roles you want. There'll be fewer roles, yes, but you'll have fewer rejections. You'll be able to keep. When you're looking for a job, it's the worst possible time to have a crisis of self-esteem and self-confidence. So avoid anything that might cause that to happen.
Yeah, I love that. Cover later or not?
Oh, hey. Yes, in a sense, provided you've done your research and your networking and you use it as a way of selling your passions. Don't send a generic cover letter. There's no point. If you're going to do it, spend time on it.
I would like to read about that. Giving you some content. Content.
There you go. Thank you, Phil. I'll put that in my backlog.
Forgot to my clock. So where can we find you if people want to be in touch with you, look at what you're doing, look at your article?
Duncan Fraser at Blair West on LinkedIn. We're updating our corporate website right now, but blairwest.co.uk will have all our profiles on there at some point soon. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so if you want to reach out and say hi or chat, connect, talk about the product recruitment market or product or UX or data now, do that too.
Great. Thank you for this talk. It was really nice talking to you, going into the topic of recruiting, selling yourself, and all that. That was really great.
Really appreciate
Um,
it, Phil. Thank you.
and so for the rest of a podcast, you can find everything on YouTube, and also soon to be on all the podcast platform that you know. Thank you again, Duncan.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Cheers, Phil.